Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of UHS Presents. I am here with my co host, Lori. Hi, Lori.
Hey.
I'm having a good lighting day. As you
It's,
can,
we're having some technical difficulties as usual.
yeah, like it's just that's how we roll. I'm, I messed up everything before and I thought that I could do it and I just didn't think things. Oh, well. Anywho's, what do we have for some UHS news for everybody?
The main thing this week is we're in the middle of the Power Broker number 2 Kickstarter. We hit the goal. We're aiming for stretch goals. I don't know if you have the banner, uhstudios.com/kick it if you guys want it back. It's going to be open till May 6th. We got 3 different covers. We got all kinds of cool shit. We got a new patch. So I hope you guys are getting in and backing. And if you haven't read issue 1, we're offering issue 1 too. So, I think that's just about it. Like we're pretty Power Broker focused right now. There's not much else exciting.
Yeah, not a lot else going on when there's a Kickstarter happening. It's all about that's how it is. That's what we do. So yeah, tonight we are talking to some. So as I mentioned in the description, that I so hastily wrote, that the default for the comics industry is still like the default gender is men, and so we wanted to talk to some people who aren't men and see what their experiences have been like, and like some ideas, and we can kick it all back and forth with you guys that are watching with us because we want to know, we want to suggest our thoughts on what we could do to make it better, to make it continue to get better, because it has been getting better. We want to also hear your experiences, especially if you're not a guy. So first, let's bring on our guests for tonight. I think everybody's in the art industry this time because we had some people have to back out at the last minute for their own reasons. Shit happens. That's how it is. But let's introduce who is here. So we have D Fish. Hello, D.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for coming. Next up, we've got Christie Shinn. Hi. Thank you for coming. We've got a repeat UHS Presents offender, Katie Rooster.
Hi.
I don't know why that came up. Like that was the first word that I thought of. I was like, that's not, oh, it was guest, repeat guest. That's the word.
Offender.
And Diana Greenhelge. So hello, Diana.
Hey.
Thank you everybody for coming tonight. We've got Brad Arney in the comments saying good evening, ladies.
Brad. Hi.
Yes, you did. And the handshaky dude. Yeah, that. Juice Lee's on here too, but via Facebook so that he can join into the conversation. J-Man's here. Hi, Sarah and Lori and everybody else. He said that before I brought you guys on, so that's why he didn't put you guys. He means hi to everybody, I'm sure. I think I speak for him in this one case that he wants to welcome everyone.
So. Oh, well, that's sweet.
So before we get started in on this, I think, Lori, you have a story to tell about what kind of prompted you to want to do this show.
Yeah, I was also thinking maybe before I do that, if everyone here wants to kind of plug what they're doing right now.
Yes.
If we want to start with that, like who you are and what you do and what you're doing right now, then I'll dive into the nitty-gritty of why I got so pissed off and made the show this episode. And anyway, so let's maybe introduce everyone first.
Let's just go in order here of how everybody came in. So let's start with D.
Hi. Okay. My name is D Fish. I'm a cartoonist, writer, and artist. I'm currently working on 2 regular web comics. I have Finding D, which is a semi-autobiographical web comic, runs weekly, and is kind of like it's a slice of life humor strip about my life and the trials and tribulations of trying to make it in comics while coming out as transgender in your 40s. I am the artist and a co-creator on the webcomic Giant Girl Adventures that I draw with my friend, the writer Sabrina Pandora, who works. We work on that one together, and I'm also. I'm very busy. I'm also working on a series of werewolf novels, the first of which will be starting to come out this summer, called Lycanthropy and the Single Girl.
I don't even need to hear any more about it, and I'm signed up. I want that one.
Right?
That's her.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So, okay, Christie.
So, yeah, I am LA based. I am, I guess, comic creator. I am a writer, but primarily I was an artist first, and I'm still an artist, but I also have begun to write, and I found out I'm not shitty at it, which is good. And I'm a Ringo Award winning artist for Mind Planned Parenthood, that anthology I was involved in. I actually have been involved in kind of similar projects that Lori has, like Gates of Midnight, I think, with Chimera Press. We both know Madeline and Debbie. They're both very big in the Kickstarter movements in terms of, smashing stuff through the indies and everything. So a little shout out to both of them. Also, I do a comic called Demon Bitch, which is currently in her next to last week of crowdfunding and Kickstarter. It will end 5/9. And we're up to 150 backers, but I'd like to go and get up to 160 because we've got actually not long to fund. So I'm about 78, 80% there. So kick me over there and get me going. I know. And basically the idea of Kickstarter is that if you want to get your shit, you have to back the shit and fund the shit so you can get more shit. So that's a good thing.
And I'm going to go ahead and pop your link to your Kickstarter.
Yeah, let's put that.
Everybody watching, guys.
Let's get Christie to the goal, please. She should have passed it already. Let's kill this goal.
Yeah.
So there it is. Okay, it's up on all 3 platforms now, so you guys can go have a look at it. Everybody.
I imagine you can also find it on Kickstarter by searching Demon Bitch, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because like when people say Demon Bitch, they're like Demon Bitch, like they're gonna be smacked across the mouth for swearing in front of kids. I love that feeling sometimes. Not getting smacked, but that feeling.
Okay, I'm good now.
Sarah needs to compose herself. Just
well, it wasn't as bad as last week, but it was. I had a thought about Demon Bitch and like all that. It's just like you happily will respond to that, right? That's.
It's funny. It started off as a character about some fucking bitches I hated. Like I just made this low-level meat bag of a Shima demon from the 13th pit of hell, where people throw their dog shit in gum wrappers, and she's probably wanting to try to make the second coming of Armageddon, but the first one never happened because she's an idiot. So, then one of my friends just started calling me DB because he knew me as the character and all that. I mean, again, I have nothing in common with her, but then they started calling me Demon Bitch and it kind of stuck. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just go with it. If I'm known for Demon Bitch, there you go. So
nice. That works.
Yeah. Hey.
Katie, what you up to these days? Besides painting rocks.
Sorry, I was laughing at Laurie's away picture, which was you.
Sorry.
Yeah. You should go watch last week's episode. Watch me lose my shit when I find out for the first time that that's how it's set. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm actually more of a wildlife artist, really, but I've been working on a painting to try and get into Birds and Art, which is like quite a prestigious exhibition. But I'm now I'm free a bit more now. I'm sort of thinking about getting back towards comics, and we'll have to talk about getting the Seeker Part 2 finished. But in the meantime, I've just been practicing anatomy, doing like a lot of studying and things.
Yes, and if you go to Unlikely Heroes Presents, oh my God, what is the name of our group?
Awesome comics and other cool shit.
Thank you. God, it's so long, I forget. Katie just posted a time lapse of one of her anatomy studies in there, so it's kind of hypnotizing to watch. So go watch it. Okay, Diana, what are you up to?
Well, I'm Known mostly for my inking in comic books, but I'm also an editor, longtime freelance editor. And current project is we're actually wrapping up the second half of a graphic novel project called Gray with Arvin Ethan David. People might know him as a Broadway producer, but he's also a comic book writer. And he's actually done quite a few things through IDW, including Dirk Gently. And so Gray is his latest comic book project. We've been working on that throughout the pandemic. And the first volume is already out. It was out late 2021. And we're wrapping up the second volume, so that'll be out in the next 2 months.
Fantastic. I'm excited to see more about it.
That's awesome. So let me talk about how I decided to make this episode. Basically, and I watched this happen on Instagram, and I when it happened, I just could relate so heavily to it. I was like, I wonder if other people can relate to this. I wonder if other women can relate to this. Anyway, so basically a man wanted to interview a model on his show, and he pestered her, and she didn't answer him. And she finally answered him, and she said, just very simply, sorry, I don't work for free anymore, period. No, nothing else. That's it. That was the sentence. And when she did so, he plastered her photos and the email and a nasty message about her all over social media. And he was like, look at how rude she was to me. And look at how she's being horrible and rude. And I messaged him, and I was like, she's not being rude at all. She's just telling you that she doesn't want to do a free interview. And I was like, you know what, but this has happened to me, where I just type something with a period, and then someone's like, oh, you're being so rude. And I'm like, but I just typed a sentence. I'm so confused. So that's when I kind of thought, maybe this is an experience that more women are having, and they're having to deal with, especially in the comic book industry, or all industries really, where you have to tone down how you're talking, or add emojis to what you're saying, or speak a certain way to make other people comfortable. And yeah, so I was curious if you guys could relate to that, or if you wanted to talk about similar experiences. And
Really, we all have had that, where I do it without even thinking about it, where I what's the word, you soften the message with your, like you said, with the emojis or the exclamation point or the smiley face, whatever, the ASCII crap, whatever. I know I've done it. I'm sure everybody here can relate.
I kind of did it for a while. Then I realized that I wasn't getting what I wanted. And so when we tend to go, and I used to do this, where I would say, well, I just wanted to let you know. And I said, why the fuck do I want to say, why do I just want to let you know? I want to let you know. I give myself a rule. I only say just only in time. I just spoke to you about this. I just did this. But I'm not going to do it in a way that's going to go and justify my position. And again, it's you kind of have to have an attitude. And I think I was kind of thinking about this, and it's a theory, so you can agree with me or not, but how men relate to each other in a certain way. How women relate to each other in a certain way. And then when it crosses over, there's clashing, because how we relate to each other is not exactly the same way. So for me, I always kind of put it in my head before I talk, pretty much to anybody. And I've noticed this is very effective without sounding overly one way or the other. I just say, okay, well, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And honestly, that's what it is. And if that person has a problem with it, then I'm not going to then, past a certain point, you're just like, I can't please you. I'm sorry. And it doesn't matter if it's a guy or girl. Sometimes I've had people on both genders or sexes or whatever come at me. And there are times it's I've learned to just not give a fuck. And I think the thing is that, you have to just be assertive in what you do. And that's hard to find because we see a lot of like extremes of either way. And it's kind of frustrating because you don't have the reasoned things sometimes in the middle. So, oh my God. Well, I mean, it was hard lessons, but I mean, I had to deal with scummy people, like of all kinds. I mean, that's why I do Demon Bitch and shit like that, because I've had to deal with scummy men and women and all sorts in between. But past a certain point, it's just like, look, you're just trying to say something. Like if you're saying to somebody, I need these colors from you, right? And if they go into this whole emotional thing, it's like, look, I'm not interested. I want these colors from you. I need A, B, and C, and everything will be fine. If they continue to be emotional, it's like, all right, that's all I want from you. There's nothing personal about this. Stop. But I think I've learned how to kind of do that where it's not that you're not empathetic, but people often confuse empathy by feeding into other people's shit. And you really don't need to. Like, you don't need to stand for it. And it doesn't mean you need to tell the person off or tell them go fuck you. Sometimes you do. And that's, I think, what makes us kind of miserable is this blanket answer that, oh, well, you just do this. And it's like, no, not like sometimes there are better times when a person is being an asshole to you. You're just like, you know what? I'm just not feeding into this. I walk away. And sometimes you need to tell them, you know what? You need to go fuck off and leave me alone. There's everything in between with that. And it's your own personal judgment call what to do with that. And I think people are kind of divorced from that. And that's what makes them miserable. It's just, if you feel that, maybe I should just be a little nicer to this person in terms of maybe soften my tone a bit, okay. But at the same time, if you feel like, I really am not going to stand for your shit, so I'm just going to walk away. Or sometimes it's like, I'm not in the space to answer this email. I'll wait like an hour or two before I'm in that space. You're okay to do that. And I think sometimes we're in this thing of quick response. There's very few things I've noticed that need a super quick response. Like if you say, okay, I need to find out what the editor needs in 10 minutes. Can you let me know? I need you to let me know. Okay, but let your needs be known. Let your time frame be known. That's what you have to really let people know about if you know it. But like after a few days, it's like, okay. And don't try to make it super personal. I think a lot of people make a lot of shit super personal. That's why they get into a heightened state of anger or rage or agitation. For me, I don't try to take a lot of shit personally. It really kind of makes me depressed and neurotic and angry because I used to do that. And I don't do that anymore. And I'm actually a much happier person. I'm able to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, if that guy did that to me, I'd be like, you know what? Look, first of all, I report his ass for harassing me. Number two, I said, I stated to you that I did not want to work for free. We could have handled this privately. You did not choose to do that. Therefore, I will recommend to people not to work with you or interview you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Be as much of a cold asshole if you need to. For me, I mean, I've had people try to attempt to cyberbully me. It's really fucking stupid personally. And it's just a form of bullying. And it seems intimidating because like, oh, they're trying to get the mob after me. Most of the time people don't give a shit. And personally, if that person is doing that, you have every right to go tell them to go fuck themselves personally, publicly too.
When you were saying about everything, but the thing that was sticking to me was that this is something that artists, I think, regardless of gender, keep getting asked to work for free. That's a whole nother show. But like the guy in question here, the guy that spurred this whole thing on here, asked someone to work for free, and that right there, and was very politely told no.
Yeah, she wasn't like, fuck you. Like, I don't, like, she was just like, I'm sorry, I don't work for free, period.
Yeah, and if he was harassing her, if he was badgering her, then she had every right to be rude to him. But like, stop. If she says, I don't work for free, you don't respond by being a douchebag to her. You respond by saying, oh, well, what's your rates? Or so, okay, thank you.
Or end the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, his emotional maturity was definitely not there. I mean, the thing is that even if she was insulting, there's a way to handle it to not be a shithead, personally. Either way, like if she says, I'm sorry, I don't work for free. Well, you can say, okay, well, what are your rates? Yeah, that's one of it. Or just don't pursue the conversation.
Just walk
We're going to
away.
make a note. Okay, this person doesn't work for free. Whatever feelings you may have, I think people tend to barf out their feelings before they think about it on social media, thinking that makes them vulnerable or likable or whatever. And to a point, it does. I'm not saying that you can't talk about personal shit. But what I've been noticing is that sometimes people use that to try to get attention in a way that's actually not healthy, personally. Like with him, I'm pretty sure he wanted some sort of validation. Like, oh, she was mean to me. And it's like, okay, you do not possess the maturity to probably do this thing called negotiation. Like, talk with her. People seem to be taught that negotiation is like, I get to go and steamroll over your ass. Number two, I get to go, this is all my way or the highway. I don't give a fuck who you are. And number
they
three,
expect the artist to say yes to everything.
yeah, and you don't. Like, okay, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. Or sometimes when I enter in a conversation, I said, these are my concerns. Can we address them? Okay, all right, fine. We have to be assertive with that. And it's like, okay, well, this, and this, and this. Or you can even put in the back of your head, let me see how this goes, right? You're welcome to do that. You're in full control of that. And unfortunately with him, it's just that he did not seem to have emotional control of his facilities. So he decided to be rude as fuck. So I would consider that rude as fuck. And I would go and tell my circles of whatever he interviewed in, said, I wouldn't interview with this guy. And that's it. You don't need to go.
There is a downside that you can't actually go and tell someone, don't interview with this guy, because that's technically defamation. You're damaging his reputation. But
I mean, if you're putting in the context
first,
yeah.
All you can really say is, look, this is what happened. I'm going to leave it at that and just put your statement out, and that's it. But the problem is that a lot of these guys have more support or more money, and it ends up hurting us in the long run.
I find yes and yes
and no. And then they keep doing it to other people. So
I find yes and no. This is what I mean, because I've had people do this to me before. I said, look, and I have a private conversation with the person in question. I said, I will not work with this person because of A, B, and C. And then I will leave it at that. And if I feel like I need to. Of course, if you put it out online and it's written down, yes, there's libel and slander and legalities. But if you're having a private conversation or people ask you, hey, what happened? This is what happened. I will not work with this person now because of that. Because they have shown me that they are trying to bully me into something or shame me into something, which I consider harassment.
Right. Share your experience. You just can't say, don't work with this person, don't interview this person.
Yeah, you can just say, this is why I won't. Right.
Yeah, I would suggest personally, because of this is my personal experience, but I understand. But I think there are workarounds to every situation. That's what I found personally, because like I used to feel that way too. And I would be quiet a lot of the time. And
I've actually been threatened for speaking out. So learning the actual way that I can make statements and stuff like that without getting myself into any kind of possible hot water has been very important over the last few years. You know, I've worked with, in the past, I've worked with people who turned out to be abusive, and I actually had someone threaten me over quitting. I was walking away, and you know, knowing what I could and couldn't put online, because I knew this person was vindictive enough to come after me, to try to hurt me in any way possible, especially financially. Then I made sure I knew what my rights were and where I needed to be careful.
I understand that. I mean, you have to fight smart too. Like,
exactly.
The whole problem is that there's this misconception that you have to go and scream back, and that's not usually the best.
No, not at all. No.
I mean, I've seen that happen too, and I'm like, do not fuck yourself legally, guys. You know, I get it, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I understand that. I've had that happen too. No, it just sucks. I think that's shitty that it happens to people.
Yeah. I think one of the things about this whole encounter that Lori described is like the thing that's bugging me, and probably that's what bugged Lori. That's what bugs probably all of us. Like if that guy if it had been The Rock, or you know, or pick any male comic creator. Just pick anybody that's a guy, and say, would he have reacted the same way if a man had said that to him? And that's and the answer is generally probably not. And that's the frustrating thing about it, is that why do you expect women to behave a certain way that you aren't expecting from men? Like, a man could be way more rude and get away with it. And I'm, at the risk of I don't want to get too man hatey here. Like, nobody wants to hate on men here. We just are trying. I mean, it's trying to illustrate, probably for the millionth time for some of us, that this is the stuff that really does happen, and we're people. Our viewers know us, know Lori and I, and like, we've experienced this too. So, like, and we see that you can behave the exact same way to a guy, and that the reaction will be totally different. And it's it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. I have a story of my own that I could tell, but I think I'd like to hear an example of a time that you were treated differently due to your gender. Had an encounter similar to that probably wouldn't have happened if you were a man, kind of thing. And I'd like to hear an experience from our guests from that. Y'all want to hear mine later, but I mean, yeah. So, Christie, I know that you have comics that you've done about this situation, so I'm sure you have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to like overshadow everybody else's, of course. I mean, we all have different experiences. I mean, it's just like when I'm kind of smiling to myself, it's not because I'm mocking anybody, by the way. It's just more of like, yeah, I've been through this. Yeah, I know that shit, and I can tell what I did, and maybe that will help. But at the same time, I would like to let other people say their thing as well. It's just out of common courtesy.
I have one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm quite into the Discworld series, and I decided to try and do some fan art. Now, it was just fan art of one of the characters, who was Lady Sybil. She's quite a big sort of lady, and she has dragons and stuff like that. And I was just drawing a picture of it, and one of the clients I had decided that for some reason this was an erotic picture. Now, I don't know why. She was not naked. She wasn't even suggestive. But he started sending messages and stuff about that. And I was like, look, not really comfortable with this. And started asking if I'd like change it to be nude and stuff like that. I was like, look, I don't really want to do that. Anyway, so he settled down for a while and then started sending me inappropriate messages about me personally. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I actually ended up having to block him, and I'm not going to say who he was, but yeah. And I was like, what gave you the impression that I would be interested in you saying stuff like that? It's like,
and that's the thing that he would not have done if you had been like, he wouldn't have just immediately jumped to sexual stuff.
No,
if you like, he obviously, and it's a thing, that like a lot of I don't want to say all guys, because I know that's not true, but like, there's just a lot of men out there who oftentimes think that if you're nice, like the waitress thing, like, if the waitress is nice to you, then she must be into you and you should hit on her left and right. No, you shouldn't. You should just be courteous and polite and treat her like you would treat any man that was waiting on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, that is always it's like, it's women objectification of women. Like, we are not things for men to have for men's personal enjoyment or pleasure or comfort or anything. We're our own people too. So,
well, what's nuts about that is Katie didn't post a photo of herself. She was like, here's a drawing, here's a piece of art that I did, and he was like, oh wow, like, she's down. She's DTF like, now. Like,
I mean, he had seen me in person, but again, I'm not really interested, especially as he seemed to be older than my dad as well. I mean, it's like What gave him the impression that I was interested? I don't want to know what he wants to do with me in high heels and stockings. You
And
know?
I remember that picture. I don't remember it very well, but I remember it well enough to go, WTF, when you were telling me what was going on when it was happening. I was like, what the hell is wrong with this person? This is not an invitation. What are you doing?
I think
Oh,
what
it was super weird.
I think we need to take away from the fact that these people are actually normal, first of all. And for me, number two, I'm kind of like going, the moment you talk like this to me, the moment you're inhuman to me, that doesn't mean that I get to go rage at them or something. No, I'm talking about you do it smart. But it's like any sort of social restraint or like thinking, because I think when we've gone through stuff like this, it kind of short circuits our brain in a way because we're like, this makes no sense. We're being logical. I didn't put a picture of myself. These people are not logical. That's the thing. That's the thing that we should just take out of our minds, because that's what helped me deal with this in a way that kept my sanity. Is the moment somebody came at me like that, I'd be like, you are not sane nor logical. So I do not have to have any common courtesy to you whatsoever. That doesn't mean you lash out at them. It doesn't mean you start threatening them or cursing at them. You're just like, I can just shut you off, and you just shut them off. There's no dialogue or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that that's going to happen every time, but I think what helped me deal with stuff like that is that the moment they start doing that, it's like, you are not a human being to me, and you do not deserve any more of my attention. And it's weird because it's strange how that psychologically wires you up to deal with things in a much more effective manner than, and I'm not trying to dog anybody that has horrible feelings from it, okay? Because it took me a while to get through that too. That is, and if you still do, which I still can do, that doesn't mean you're defective either. But what's another psychological armament in dealing with people that are garbage like that? Sorry, I'm kind of getting a little bit passionate, but you just have to go like, you are not normal, and you are not a normal fucking human being. And sometimes like disconnecting yourself from that is everything to do with the psychological shit that you have to deal with that. Because people like that, they want to fuck with you psychologically.
And that's the thing that you have to learn too, is like how to respond to that. Because we're kind of, I mean, I know my experience as a kid, like I was conditioned to, I am to always be nice to everybody no matter what.
Yeah, and I don't find that okay, because it's like sometimes like, no, if you're being shitty to me, that doesn't mean I have to rage at you or be horrible to you, but it's like, let me just disconnect myself from you immediately.
I don't have to be nice either. I don't have to be a horrible, rotten, nasty person to them, but I also do not have to be nice anymore.
Well, essentially, it's like, I don't have to give you shit.
Yeah, you don't have to entertain a person if they've crossed the line with you.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think personally, and I've learned this from people that have actually dealt with people that were in homes that were criminally disturbed, like psychologically disturbed. The more you kind of feed into it, they were telling me, because I almost got into it with some people one time. They said the more you kind of feed into it, the more they get kind of turned on by that. Sometimes you have to kind of just disconnect yourself. It does not mean you're passive. It does not mean that you just take it. It's just more, no, not
Yeah,
dealing.
shut it down.
Yeah, I don't have to give you shit. That's it.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I've actually had some experiences in person at conventions in the past, where I think the strangest thing someone has ever said to me has been, "You shouldn't be drawing this stuff. You're a good girl."
That's fucking stupid.
Before I really got into comic books, I was actually known as a pinup artist, and cheesecake was my thing. This was before, all the Zenescope and bikini covers and all that. This is back in like the early aughts. And I actually stopped drawing it for years because of the flack I would get from people at cons. And, yes, I'd get, the guys have stuff they're into, the girls do too, and I don't have a problem with it. There's certain stuff that I love drawing, but it was the people who would come up to me and tell me I'm demeaning my gender by drawing this trash, that I made them feel like they were in a strip club, that I shouldn't be allowed to exhibit at conventions, that basically my work was indecent. all sorts of stuff. And that's just the shaming for my pinup art. Like we were talking, this whole topic started on experiences with people, crossing lines and stuff like that. Is that I've also been grabbed that people would do to female creators that they wouldn't do to male creators or non-male creators. I've been grabbed at cons. I was drawing at a Free Comic Book Day event once, and I was drawing for this guy's son, probably about 10, 11 years old. And the dad's waiting in line to go in the shop. He comes behind me and grabs my shoulder and starts yelling at me for not getting his son's drawing done because I'm talking to people. I was talking to people while I was sketching. And apparently all I should have been doing was sketching his son's drawing, which was great. I've also had on the perverted side, I was at a convention, and actually the guy next to me became a longtime friend of mine. He didn't realize what was happening, but this guy walked up to my table, started talking to me, and there was a gap next to my table. The next thing I know, he goes, "You look tense," walks around my table and starts rubbing my shoulders. I don't know this dude.
Wow.
Never met this guy before in my life. And strangely enough, this guy has shown up at my tables at other cons later in the future. But I made sure that he didn't come near me. I kept people between me and him. But my table neighbor didn't realize, and I froze. Like, this was 15 years ago-ish. This was like 2008. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react. I froze. I was only 2 years into cons. I was by myself, and I froze. I didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say, and until the guy finally left. And then the guy next to me noticed that I was shaking and asked me if I was okay, and I told him what happened. He hadn't even realized that he was talking to customers. And after that, for a long time after that, I didn't do a table by myself because I was worried that I was going to get grabbed again. And and finding out too that cons that I attended as an attendee, usually I would go with friends and they would be on my guest pass and stuff like that. So, I'd have my pro badge and then I'd get a guest and they'd come with me. I didn't realize why they were walking behind me. I'm such an idiot. It took me a few years to realize this, and someone told me they were walking behind me so people wouldn't grab my ass. Like, deliberately blocking people with their portfolio and stuff like that so that nobody could touch me. And I didn't realize that this was going on because I was completely oblivious. One mind, go meet this person, go meet that person, got to see this booth. And people don't realize that this happens, or they don't care, or they don't realize how often it happens. And might happen to them. They don't realize we're experiencing it too. So, yeah.
That happened to you. I had a guy that was following me around to cons, and he didn't ever grab me or anything like that. So I mean, like, I feel like I lucked out on that because your experience is way worse. But yeah,
I blocked that guy, and he creates new accounts and chats me up all the time, and I have to keep blocking them.
You know what also helps, because I did kind of have a sock puppeting issue as well.
Yeah.
There's the IC3, and I can put up the link in here, but you can put up a complaint about them. I did that with some people that were harassing me on Facebook. Like this one, she got in her head, I don't know, that Demon Bitch was about her. I never even met this bitch in the first place. But I reported it to Facebook, but I screenshot all the shit and I put down the account as best as I could. And I never got bothered again. So I could put that link up in there. That's one thing that I would do. If you're being harassed online, you go in and sick those people on them, because
it goes a few months and he's harmless. It's just really weird.
It doesn't matter if it's bothering you.
Yeah. No, I don't interact. I know it's him because he uses the same handle from the different social medias.
Not even that clever. Like, he's not even trying. Come on.
No, he has like four different screen names that he's used, and I know all of them because he's tried to add me on Facebook and Instagram and all sorts of stuff, and he just randomly pops up, and he uses variations of them, but it's always him, and I always know it's him. So I just automatically block him.
Well, as I said, I put in the IC3
Okay.
site. That has
Oh,
been
I'm in Canada. Sorry, I don't know if that would have any effect because I'm actually in another country.
It doesn't matter. Just do it
Oh,
anyway.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
check
I would do it, and I would do it anyway, as
Yeah.
on top of reporting him to the ISP and above also reporting him to the account. If he is harassing you and he is not welcome, and you have made that known, you can use that source. I have used that source very effectively. I mean, it doesn't matter if like, oh, there's money transacted or you know his number or anything. You report that. They do not bother you anymore. That is what I found every single fucking time. And I'm being very honest with this, but it's just like not a lot of people know about it, especially if you've been defrauded or hacked or whatever. Use that.
Okay.
It's very effective. You will not be troubled anymore. So,
Thanks. I'll check that out.
yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it's just, I understand. It sucks. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just some things are just weird.
It's cool that your friends are coming to your rescue, though. Like that is,
Yeah.
it's so valuable to have people that'll help you like that. I don't always have somebody who can come with me to conventions, so thankfully I haven't had too much trouble with that kind of a situation. So hopefully I don't, but I am aware of it, and I'm usually kind of looking behind me all the time when I'm alone at those things too.
Well,
So.
I'm autistic, so for me, it was both single-minded focus. I had a task list I needed to get done, and not always being self-aware of space and stuff like that. I'll completely miss stuff that's happening in front of me, not intentionally. So,
Know the feeling.
I mean, it's hard sometimes. May I ask what country you're in, Diana? Oh, okay.
I'm a Canuck, so.
No, I was just curious. But yeah, I'm just like, that's really shitty. I'm sorry I had to deal with that. And on top of having that, that doesn't make it any easier or better or anything. So it's just, I mean, I can understand. There are times I didn't have friends myself that would protect me. So I kind of had to do it on my own. And you kind of have to, as I said, mental buildup is kind of a big thing I've noticed, because I would get picked on a lot. And I don't mean like you get calloused and mean and you say, don't you fucking ever touch me type shit. No, it's like,
you start to learn the quickest and best way to get yourself out of the situation.
Well, I think also like you actually like, and this might kind of sound shitty, and I'm not trying to sound shitty. This is just from my own experience. Like when I had a shitty confidence level for myself, and again, not saying that it applies to you, but just for anybody out there, where I was told like everything was my fault, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all that shit. Having to build up my own confidence made me less picked off by predators, which sucks because I didn't know that for the longest time. But it's like when I had the attitude, and again, it's not a chip on my shoulder, okay? It's just more of, I have every right to be here. I'm going to be here, and I will be happy here, and I will be safe here. And again, I'm not trying to say ignore obviously fucked up times.
Yeah.
But when you embody that a lot of the time, a lot of those weirdos drop off, because it's kind of weird, like how human beings are sort of like animals. They'll pick out the sick and the weak.
Yeah, you don't seem like such an easy target.
No, but I mean, I had to learn my own, I don't want to say shortcomings, but the things that kind of held me down just as a result of some of my life experiences. And it's hard to overcome it because, like, if you've been conditioned for that, it's hard to see. And, there are some things that I've had to kind of overcome on my own. And again, you want to use therapy, you want to use anything else, fine. I'm not excluding that. But I find a lot of a big thing is that you kind of have to build yourself up, because even if you have friends, even if you have very close colleagues, people that love you, whatever, end of story, you are your biggest cheerleader, because they could always like be there for you. But if you are on some level not supporting yourself, it's not going to do a damn thing. And I'm not trying to say that to make anybody feel less than, but maybe an insight to what people can do for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. It's tough, but I understand.
No, it's good. It's good advice. Dee, I was hoping to hear from you as well about.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you have some stuff.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
No,
no,
it's okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good shit. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
advice and good shit going on here. It's okay.
Yeah.
it's really weird from my perspective is unique in that I have had all the exact same experiences, not at cons, but I've had the inappropriate touching when I've been out at a karaoke or at a restaurant where I've had the neck massage out of nowhere where you're just like the deer in the headlights. You don't even know who's behind you.
Yeah.
And but I I've had the creepy messages where you make a basic statement and you say no thanks, I'm not really interested in working on that, and you get called a bitch and a cunt and a whore. And the difference is that my experiences in that regard did not exist prior to January of 2016, and there is a dehumanization that a lot of people see the second there is that perception. Because before I came out, there was an invisibility in that regard, and I could tell people, no, I don't really feel like doing that, and I didn't get that hostility. I didn't get, but in the times since then, yeah, I've gotten stuff almost exactly like that. The person who was being asked to be interviewed, where if I don't draw something for free, it turns into this horrifying, where I've had to block people and I've had people try to report my account for some offense because I said no. And on the same token, I've also had a lot of people who have come to my defense, like local friends and stuff. This is what it's going into completely different experiences, but I've had, I have my own concerns with certain things like public restrooms. And that's a standard thing across the country now. But I've also had, I did a panel at a convention a few years ago, and I expressed that I hadn't actually gone to the bathroom the entire day because there had been that same weekend at a different convention, somebody had been arrested for trying to come into it with actual guns. And so they locked down security, and there were security guards at all the restrooms. And so I just went, nope, not peeing. I literally crossed the building and went to a hotel across the street. Took me 45 minutes to go pee because I was so terrified of having to walk through into the bathroom. And every woman in the panel came to the bathroom with me after I told the story.
Mm-hmm.
They just held up their hands and were like, well, we're going to go to the bathroom with you then. So, I mean, I've had that experience, and I've had the reverse, but yeah, it is a weird thing to be able to see the shift from prior to coming out, where it kind of didn't exist in that regard, and you get a little bubble, for lack of a better term, that privilege of not getting people treating you like utter shit and treating you like a thing and a property and something that's beholden to whatever their desires are. And it is, my general philosophy on that has been one of just disengaging as much as possible. I don't get into the argument. I don't get into the screaming match with them. I think I had 5 people blocked on Facebook prior to that, and I think I have 350 now.
Wow.
Because it's just something about it. It's just, and I mean, I guess I do have a perspective because I got to be the fly on the wall and see an awful lot of behind the scenes hateful bullshit, enough to say that there is an awful lot of, I hate to say the word because it's such a loaded word, but impotence in regards to the ability to lash out at people in the real world that happens when these folks get on the internet and get told no. And it's really disturbing because it's like there's no such thing as an internet personality that's different from what that person really is. That's just, you're just seeing what they really are.
Yeah.
And that's disturbing as fuck.
It's
horrifying. Like they get behind a keyboard and they think they can say or do anything to anyone on the internet, because it somehow shields them or something like that, and it's led to so much vileness.
Yeah. But what they've really done is show you who they really
Yeah.
are. Not, it's not one of those, oh, that's just how I act on the internet. No, no, no. How you act in the real world is the bullshit, the facade. This is who you actually are. And what you are is
And your friends and family see you, kind of thing. Like
yeah.
you're posting bigotry on Facebook. Your so-called Facebook friends see you. They see the real you.
Oh yeah. Why whenever you see those goofy polls where it's like, what kind of superpower would you have? And people say mind reading, I'm like, no, you don't. You don't even want to see what half these people post on Facebook. Trust me, you don't want to see what's going on in their minds.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember seeing a meme on Facebook. It was really pretty funny. It was like Family Circus, and obviously they changed the caption, but it showed Billy like with his fist there, and his brother's like lying on the floor crying, and he says, "Oh yeah, he started talking shit, but he forgot he wasn't on Facebook, so I smacked his bitch ass, basically." Sometimes when I watch these people like go and, I mean, I don't engage them because it's also a waste of time. Like when you think about it, it's a fucking emotional waste of time. It's just a waste of time in general when you see people get that hateful, and you're just kind of like going, some of these people, like maybe I just have a fucked up sense of humor, and that's just me. But I look at them and I just start shaking my head and say, y'all never been in a fucking fight. Like I can tell which one of you has been in a fight and not, like the amount of shit they talk, and I'm just laughing at them like, wow. Because some of the people that have talked shit to me avoid me entirely at cons, and I haven't like said anything to them to threaten them or anything. It's like, but go ahead, feel that way. Go away. That's it. But yeah.
I feel like they're scared you'll kick their ass. I feel like you'd kick their ass.
That's the thing. I don't threaten anybody. That's the thing. I've never physically threatened anybody. I've never actually had a cross word of them. I've like pretty much said to them, please don't talk to me. And then they try to hit back at me. I'm like, don't try it. And I deal with it, let's just say. And they go away. But they'll posture sometimes. And it's funny because it's like, yeah, I know. I'm going to be there and you're going to just not be there.
I had a thought about your experience kind of underscores the fact that we're not full of shit. We're not spewing a bunch of lies, because you said that you had the experience of both sides. Like, so you are quite possibly the most qualified person here to say this is a real thing.
Yes.
We aren't just making this shit up. We're not just being dramatic, hysterical women. This is real.
Yeah,
it's mathematical.
Yeah, like women get treated differently, not by everybody. I know there are some people out there that genuinely are, they're fair to everyone, but like it's a real thing that happens, and
it's all real. The pink tax is real. Within 3 months of coming out, my main freelance client asked me to cut my pay by 25%.
Oh my God, you're shitting me.
No.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Didn't say that was the reason, but it was remarkable timing.
Amazing timing. I wish I had a table so I could flip it. Like that's
oh my God.
I have a webcomic so I can bitch about it.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that is fucking crazy. Yeah. Okay, so like
listen to you as well. I mean, there's a quick example, right? I did volunteering work for the National Trust, which is we were replacing a pond liner in this big pond. And there was quite a few of us, and there was a team that was kind of like led by a couple of guys, and they were trying to put this pond liner down, and it wouldn't fit. And I'm like, put it on the diagonal, it'll fit then. And completely ignored me, put it on the diagonal, and completely ignored me again. I said this 5 times, and then one of the other men was like, we should try putting it on the diagonal. That's a great idea. It's like, that's what I've been saying.
And that's like that's such a really easy, cheap joke on pretty much every sitcom I've ever watched in my life, and yet like, but it's a thing, especially if a woman is the one who says it.
It's the easiest joke for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy. It's so lazy. It's a lazy joke.
In the comic industry, I've had that happen so many times, and I just my husband is now just used to being asked, like, can you just say it? because like they're not listening to me, and then can you point out that I just said the same thing? Like it's getting better for me. Like it was worse when I started because I was afraid to kind of stand up and be more aggressive about it, because that's how it is when you start, you know, in an industry. I was scared, so I would just not say anything, or I'd complain after. But like it's real. Like they'll tune you out, and then they'll literally just turn to a man who said the same thing and be like, oh yeah, great idea. And you're like, how is this real? Like this isn't real.
That was I had one of my more benign experiences was when I was at a convention, and I had I think it was just Super and the Surgeon at the time. Like I didn't have that many. We didn't have a very huge catalog. Like we've got a much larger catalog now. But I think it was just those two, and the guy he come up to me and he said, I want to ask you a question about the book, because he had been flipping through Super. I want to ask you a question, but since you're not the artist or the writer, I don't think you can answer it for me. And I was like, first of all, how the fuck do you know that I'm not the artist or the writer? Just because it was true doesn't mean that he had the right to just assume it. Like, what the hell? He did not ask me. He just assumed. And then I was like, I have read the books. I'm literally selling the books. Don't you think I've read them? That why can't I answer the question? And then the question that he asked was such a stupid fucking question. It was, why is the street naked or some shit? It wasn't even, anybody who's read the book can answer that question, you dickhead. Ugh. So, okay. We all have so many of these stories. I'm sure we could spend the whole night talking about the stories that we could, share together. But what are some of the things that we can do? Some of the things that our friends who want to help us make this better? What can we all collectively do more? Benevolently push this into a more correct direction, a more fair, equitable direction. I have a few ideas. I want to hear everybody's ideas.
I can start while you guys think if you want, since we put you on the spot with kind of a big question.
Yeah, it's a loaded question too.
So our writer for The Surgeon, John Pence, he did a stint as an editor for a magazine, and he had a female pen name. I would heavily suggest that men in the industry do this so that they can experience the different way that you're treated when people think you're a woman. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, guys.
It's been a long day for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been a long day. It's fine. When people think you're a woman, like John he has so much empathy now, because he did, like I said, a couple years as an editor with a female pen name, and he experienced that, and he's like, oh shit, like this is, and men, like I would suggest doing that. I would suggest getting that experience and being like, oh, like really, yeah.
Or like if you have a female coworker who's complained about that kind of thing, just borrow their email address for a little while and respond to some of her emails, and you'll find out. Yeah, that's an excellent. Just to experience it is a powerful tool for understanding. So I definitely agree with that.
There's something that just made me think of, and it was not a gender-based thing, but it was a youth and inexperience-based. When I was very, very early, my main career is graphic designer. I've been a graphic designer for about 27 years. Mm-hmm. But when I first started, and I was a junior. I was 19, and I was the youngest designer there. I had the least amount of experience, and one of my boss shit on everything I submitted concept-wise and loved everything that my senior coworker submitted. And we would go out and get drunk and complain about this after work. And I'm like, this is just shit. We should just swap our concepts tomorrow. And we did. And it worked. Suddenly, the concepts that were shit yesterday were great. And he literally pointed to me and was like, see, it should just be more like that. I'm like, that is literally my concept. It actually did fix the problem too.
Yeah, I was like, I need to know the rest of the story. How did it end? Did you tell them? what did they say? Oh yeah, that
Because we were very much a unified front, myself and the other designer, in pointing it out. And it's a small enough company that my boss at the time was properly humbled by the experience and stopped doing that.
Wow.
So
that's I think that an ally is a very important tool, and it's a shame that not everybody can have one. But having an ally it's I wish it wasn't necessary. I wish that people would just listen to us, but it's important when in that situation it didn't exactly matter, but it didn't like the gender wasn't the thing. It was you specifically, apparently. I don't know. Or your age maybe, because being only 19, people think you're a dumb kid and you don't know anything. But
it's my age, and it's the just like I came out going on 7 years ago now, but prior to that, I just kind of existed in a very invisible way. Um, it was just I was just physically there, but that was about it. It was I've never projected my like I was never socialized in the respect of any other gender in any way that mattered. I've never reacted or responded in any of those. Like I would, I'm always bad with the verbiage, also because it changes so frequently. But it's one of those things where I never thought of myself as the opposite gender or any. I was like because with a lot of us, I knew when I was like 4. Like as soon as the idea formed, I had the idea, and then I just shoved it away after getting made fun of a bunch as a little kid. And then lived the entire rest of my life projecting as little as possible in any direction, just trying to not be seen. And I think that created throughout most of my life a similar dismissiveness. So I never got I never received the benefits from being on the other side because I never matched to those or expressed them or projected them. So whatever that invisibility was made it just as easy to dismiss me then as it is to dismiss me now. And I've heard stories from friends who have told me about how people at conventions have literally have had shit talking conversations about me after I came out at like dinner after conventions. And it's just because I came out for publicity. This was just to sell books because as you can obviously tell, I'm clearly loaded and remarkably successful now.
Right.
Yes.
that is my favorite whatever the hell is reasoning or excuse, like why people think that you came out for and like coming out for anything, like you're doing it for publicity or you're doing it for some kind of clout. Like why would anybody, like, no that's no,
Wow, that's just
dumb. It's just like
I got that right up in sequential tart, so the surgery's been worth it.
yeah, that's
Wow, people like to say a lot of shit, don't they?
Oh yeah.
That's like the thing is that maybe it's just me getting older and it's just me, and I know I'm like, oh, I'm a grumpy old bitch or something, but I don't give a fuck. But my attitude is like this. I think, and again, this is not shitting on anybody that's been hurt, because I understand. I've been there too, but I've gotten to a point where I kind of don't give a fuck, like on this level. It's like people are just going to say a ton of shit, especially advice that makes them miserable, and they give you the advice that makes them miserable. And I just hit this like level like a week or two ago, and I'm like, so you're telling me to do the same shit that makes you miserable? No, thank you. And I've kind of gotten to a point where it's like I do care about how I'm regarded to a point, but if somebody has talked shit about me behind my back about what I do and they're supposed to know me, fuck them. Like they are. And the thing is that what I've also learned, what helps, and again, this is not to give credence to people talking bullshit, but even then it's worth it to kind of listen, to kind of figure out and profile it in a way. I know that sounds weird, but it's like I've learned that people will tell you the truth even though they're lying to your face if you know what to look for. Like, oh, this is bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to react to it. You can just, okay, because sometimes your biggest weapon is not reacting, and they can wonder what the fuck you're thinking until you do something about it. But that's just me sometimes. I mean, but I'm not saying that just because you're hurt, just because you feel betrayed, you're weak on some level, because I understand that. And it still hurts sometimes. It can hurt still until years in the future. And it just, for me, with a lot of shit, and I'm not saying everything, it's just, I just am too tired to spend time on it. Now, again, we all will have that level at some point. It doesn't mean if you're not there now, you're a terrible person or you're weak. It just takes you a while to get there. But once you get there, you're in a much more freer position in a certain way of just doing your own fucking shit and being successful at it. But at the same time, it's a fucking hellish road to get there. I don't recommend it for anybody. And I understand and I have empathy for people that fucking have to go through that. But it's just like, wow. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, that's really fucked up that people like that would know you will go behind your back and say that shit. It's like, no, fuck you. They're not worth knowing. And I'm sorry about that.
At least you got to know who you can trust.
Oh, yeah. I
You got to learn that.
haven't talked to one of them in about 7 years.
Good.
Weird how that happened.
Yep.
I have my thoughts on like what we can do to, as you know, what we can do as women and non-binary people and as men who want to be allies. Like we can also and this one I kind of hate that I know that I believe it, but like you have to know when to quit. Like what people are, you're never going to convince them, you're never going to get them on your side, so you have to know when to give up on those people. And I guess that kind of dovetails in with your finding out who your real friends are sort of thing. It's you learned that, and once you learn that about them, you get to be you're like, okay, well, they're not worth my time anymore. And the same thing kind of when you spend a certain amount of effort on trying to get somebody to understand your situation, your experiences, and they just don't listen. There's got to be a point where you go, okay, I'm done. I can't put any more effort into you. I can't put any more of my energy into trying to make you see what my experiences have been like.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
kind of shift that energy to something more useful. Hi, puppy.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you end up with the 350 person block list.
Yes.
right.
I had to do that too. But yeah, I mean,
well, your dog makes you disappear completely. Did you see that?
that's funny.
My puppy is a cloak of invisibility.
What kind is he, a Bichon, or from what I can tell?
Poodle.
A what?
Poodle.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah, it
my
was kind of
poodle.
hard to tell, but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
His hair's all poofed out. So.
Oh,
Okay. Katie and Diana, you have been quiet so far on like any suggestions on what we could maybe do to help keep pushing everything in the right direction. I mean, especially with all the shit that's happening with legislatures and stuff going in the wrong direction. Like, do you have any ideas on that? Because I want, if you don't, that's cool too. Like, because I know sometimes we steal each other's ideas before we get a chance to say it. And so,
well, I mean, I don't know how you'd make him do it, but I mean, trying to get guys to actually think of like how they are speaking to people, how they're speaking to women. Would they like it if they were being talked to in the same way, or being ignored, or dehumanized, or people expecting things of them? If they just actually thought about it before they actually, how they would like to be treated in that way. Not that I don't know how you'd actually make them think like that, but it's a start.
sorry.
No, it's kind of like you can't make people do stuff that they don't want to do, and there's always going to be assholes out there.
And you can't control how they react, right?
Sorry?
Yeah.
You can't control the assholes out there, but you can control your reaction to the assholes.
Yeah, you can. And they like, oh, just ignore them, don't feel the fire. You just have to take your battles. And we don't have to give air or give space to people who dehumanize us, who abuse us, mistreat us. Some of them might learn from their mistakes eventually, but we just, there are good people out there. Just let's focus on the relationships with those people and build connections to those people.
Yes, that's another one that just kind of popped into my head as like you were making that idea form in my head. Is like you got to find yourself good communities of people who will support you and
we're not alone. Obviously, we have to right now.
You got to find, you have to have, like, especially when you have one of those bad days at the convention or at your job or whatever. If you have a bad day and you don't have anybody to come back to that can be like, it's going to be all right, it's going to help you feel better. That's like, it's, even if you don't have that, right, you don't have like immediate family that's going to be supportive of you. You can find, I mean, like Lori and I have been friends for ages, and we tell each other every time something shitty happens, we're like, jump on the internet and I'll tell her about what happened, how this shitty thing happened. And like, she lives in fucking Narnia. I don't even like, get to see her in person hardly ever, but like, I know she's there to support me and I'm there to support her. And you just got to have that. If you don't have that, how can you even if it's Christie, if it's just your random cat butt, like, at least your cat supports you, right?
My cat's in another
but that's walking across your screen there.
Oh no! Now I forgot what I was going to say. I hate it when that happens.
I get going and then I get all excited like a little puppy.
Okay. I used to jokingly tell people Comic Cons were my social life. I'd go home and nobody would see me for 3 months. I do 2 or 3 shows a year. But I was eventually doing more. Now that COVID has happened, I will not be able to return to conventions for the foreseeable future. Especially watching friends currently battling COVID because they went to conventions unmasked, amongst other events. I'm immunocompromised, so this is as close as people are going to get to me for now, probably for the next couple of years. But I actually wasn't until up to a few years before the pandemic started that I actually started going out and hanging out with other people, locally and in real life kind of thing. My social life would be conventions. I would see everybody I knew online at cons, and I'd go home and I wouldn't see them again until the next one. And I didn't really have a social life. I would just, do whatever, do my work and chat with people online or, read offline or something like that. And then I just started, kind of changing my outlook and trying to make sure that I actually did have healthy relationships, because that is important for mental health. And I made a lot of changes in the last 2 years up to 2020. And that all went down the drain after that. People online, those are real friends. Those are real relationships. We might not get to see each other in real life, but we're living, breathing people, and we're communicating with each other.
Still going to support each other, even if they live in Narnia.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about, venting on Facebook and putting all our shit out there. I sometimes have to vent, but I do it mostly so people know what I'm going through. They don't feel alone. I don't do it for sympathy or pity or anything like that. I do it because it's a way of connecting with people. I am careful what I put out there. Otherwise, and I'm very careful who can see stuff. But it's helpful. People don't know why I'm not responding to their private messages. It's because I am completely beyond burnt out at the point that I get the message, or I'm off Messenger for a week because I'm not, I'm overworked, or I'm tired, I need a break, or I'm doing too many things at once, or I'm dealing with family emergencies on top of work and stuff like that. then I'll let people know. Yeah, don't ask me if I'm okay. I've got 14 different private messages in my messenger asking how I'm doing. I literally can't answer you right now. I mean, the only reason I'm really feeling functional right now and tonight is because I've actually been away. I've had to change up my living situation for the last couple of weeks because of COVID, and it gave me a little bit of breathing space. But I still have deadlines. I still have stuff I got to get done. But yeah, it's still real. We're still having experiences. We're still talking to people. We're still socializing. Um, and yeah, I do wish that someone would out there would invent teleportation. So yeah, I can go have a coffee with Lori or something like that, or go grab sushi with Dee, and it would make things a lot easier. But we're here for now, so.
This kind of stuff's been a lifesaver for me in that regard. I don't really have that many local friends, or I don't really have any real local, like one or two people that like are acquaintances and friends. But my best friend is Sabrina. She writes the book Giant Girl that I work on with her, and she lives in Texas, and I've only met her once. But she's my best friend, and it's our relationship is we work. We call each other on Discord, and we hang out that way, and we work on our stuff together like a little like it's like a little studio, and it's a lot of fun, and it's as real as any other friendships. Yeah.
Well, Dean, you're in a small town too, right?
Yep. Midwestern Pennsylvania. It is not exactly not the middle of nowhere, but about 30 miles from there.
I live in a village of 7 houses.
Oh, you're in England, aren't you?
You win.
Yeah, she's in the UK, so yeah, that's
yeah.
And I've heard. I remember. We've talked about stuff, and you've mentioned weird issues that you might have, and I always I'll try and be helpful and suggest a possible solution, and she's like, yeah, no, you forgot where I live, I can't do that. And so it's like
I am 50 miles from the nearest cinema.
Oh no.
Crazy. So we actually went way over time, and I had a great this is I've very much enjoyed this conversation, and I thank you guys for sharing your experiences, and I wish we could just talk for until the conversation naturally winds down here. It's really interesting to listen to everybody's unique perspectives and views and everything, but yeah, we're already over time, so I feel like we better wrap it up now. Next week, for our viewers, next week we're gonna do a free comic book day, and I think is Brian.
I forgot comic book day.
Is Brian gonna be on?
Danny Quick is gonna be on.
Danny's gonna be on. Danny J. Quick's gonna be on. Yes, that's. I'm a terrible host. I forgot who the guest is gonna be. So yeah, free comic book day, Danny J. Quick, and we will be back at the same time as usual. And I want to thank Dee and Diana and Katie and Christy for coming today and sharing your experiences. And if anybody who's watching has any questions or comments or whatever that you want to ask anybody in particular, you can go ahead and pop them in the comments, and we will make sure they get to the person that you want to address, and they can respond to you in some way. We'll figure it out if/when that happens. So before we go, Dee, where can we find you on the interwebs?
My main webcomic is findingd.com or findingdcomic.com, because for some reason the first URL is illegal on Facebook. Weird. Yeah, findingdcomic.com or artofdfish.com, and that's got everything linked through it. So that's got the werewolf novels and my older comics and Giant Girl and Finding D, and all that stuff can be linked through artofdfish.com.
Ending. Diana, where can we find you on the interwebs?
I am under. I just completely blank. Sorry. Instagram. I am actually Mechangel, MECHANGEL. On Facebook, I'm Diana Greenhalgh Art, and Twitter, I'm Diana Greenhalgh. So pretty easy to find. I'm on a few other sites, but if you just go to one of my socials, you'll find a link to like all of my other sites. I don't have a private website right now, but I am actually working on a brand launch, hopefully by summer. That's going to be like Gothic Dynasty art, all original stuff. That completely spaced on mentioning earlier because I'm not actually working on it right now. It got put off because of COVID, and I'm hoping to get the store open, including illustration portfolio, some design stuff that nobody's ever seen before. So
That'll be
I'll be
Well, when
hooked up
that
on socials when I'm ready to go.
yeah, when you get that live, you have to let one of us know. Let Lori or I know. We can
All right. Oh well,
give you a little plug because we like to do that for our friends.
that'd be awesome. Thanks.
Katie, where can we find you on the interwebs? I know.
Facebook. I do have a website, but I keep forgetting to update it, so it's probably better to check Facebook.
That's the Art of Katie Rooston is your page?
It comes under the thing as, the facebook.com/roosterart, basically.
Okay. Well, you're like the only Katie Rooston on there, so if you just search the name, you'll find her.
It's useful having an unusual surname. So.
That's fair, yeah. Christie, you already gave me your link tree, and I'm gonna post it for everybody here so that you can get all those links here. But if you wanna, say it out loud so that anybody who's watching and doesn't check the comments can find it.
Yeah, it's basically it's Linktree, Horatora Studios, HORATORA Studios. That has my main website, my Kickstarter, my Patreon, my apparel, and my art and print site. Obviously check the Kickstarter. That's a priority as that's time sensitive, but got it all up there. And also if you need to get the socials, that will be also on my main website, and some of them will be through my Linktree, but my socials also kind of pony off each other. So like for Horatora Studios on Instagram, it'll have Demon Bitch Official on the thing, so you can follow both.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, so and I put your Kickstarter link is in the comments here, so anybody who wants to go check out Christie's Kickstarter, go do that.
Thank you.
Highly recommended. Diana just sent me her link tree, so I just posted that in the comments too, so y'all can find her there too. And like I said, if you have any questions for one of our guests tonight, just go ahead and pop it in the comments, and we will get that question to that guest. And I think that's it. Are we good now? I think we did everything. Honestly, though, I could talk to you guys all night. This is
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
So, yeah. That being said, everybody have a wonderful evening, and join us next week for Free Comic Book Day. And we'll see you later. Bye.
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 All right.